Do you all know the difference between whiskey and bourbon? If you don't, I'm going to go over that with you guys a little bit. So my name's Brandy. I work at Maker's Mark. I've been there about 9 years, did 4 years in the tour department. So we had to study up a lot about bourbon. So all bourbon is a whiskey, but not all whiskey is a bourbon. For example, you've got Scotch and bourbon. Both are whiskey, but Scotch has to be made in Scotland, and your bourbon has to be made in the United States. So that makes a big difference on that part. Now, get it to turn to the next one. Okay, so whiskey. So whiskey can be spelled two different ways. So you've got it without the E or with the E. So if you look at a Jim Beam bottle, they spell theirs with the E. So it's a little bit different. Each distillery chooses their spelling. That is depending upon their heritage on how they want to spell theirs. Now, whiskey is made from a fermented grain mash. Different types of whiskey are defined by their grains. They don't have a set percentage of corn that they have to use for a whiskey. So they can choose which type of grains that they want to put on theirs. So you've got your Scotch, bourbon, rye whiskey, Tennessee whiskey, Irish, and Canadian whiskey. Each one has their own preferences and their own recipes. Now, if you wanted to know more information, a good book for that is Bourbon Curious. Fred Minnick, he's awesome at writing different bourbon books. He also has Whiskey Women. Recommend that one for you guys if you want to know more info. Now, that bourbon. So, with your bourbon, you have has to be produced in the United States. It has to be at least 51% corn. Can't be any less. So their recipe may have more percentage on your corn. Distilled, no higher than 160 proof when it comes off the still. So when it comes off, a lot of people would say it's your white dog. It's got to be 160 proof. Now, stored in a new charred oak container. Has to be going in no more than 125 proof on entry. Now, when I say oak container, they don't specify it has to be in a barrel. So it can be in a box. It can be, shaped whatever shape they want to do. The reason why all these distilleries choose that barrel shape is because they can easily roll them into the warehouses. You're looking at 500 pounds of bourbon that they're rolling. So they wanted to be able to do that a lot easier. And then their char level. Their char level can be different also. So with Maker's Mark, our char level on how much fire they place inside that barrel is a number 3 char. That varies with different distilleries too. Now, it also has to be bottled no lower than 80 proof on going in your bottles. It can be higher. They can be cask strength, a lot higher proof. But it has to be 80. Now, straight bourbon. When it comes to straight bourbon, has to be a minimum of 2 years in that charred oak container. Aged if it's aged less than 4 years, it's got to be listed on the label. So if they go above the 4-year mark, they don't have to put their age on their bottles. Now, no added coloring, flavors, or spirits. There's Kentucky straight bourbon. Now that one, when they list that on the bottle, it has to be stored here a minimum of 2 years in our warehouses. So it's got to be, when you look again at that Jim Beam Kentucky straight bourbon, it's got to be minimum 2 years here. Now, the reason why there's all these stipulations, okay, in the late 1800s, certain distillers were lacing their products with additives. Some could be hazardous, so people were worried about what was inside of the bourbon. This led to the Bottle and Bond Act of 1897, which protected consumers. The act prohibited any mingling of different products, so it protected them when they knew what was inside, and it helped on that part. Now, a little bit about what's locally, so you guys could know with our area. We have a lot of distilleries. So you've got Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. That's going to be your Maker's Mark, Jim Beam's, Four Roses, Barton's, Heaven Hill. Every one of them are listed on their bottles as Kentucky straight bourbon. Heaven Hill is a little bit different. They bottle more. So you've got your Bottle and Bond. You've got rye and wheat whiskeys also. So they have a little bit more variation. Now when it says wheat whiskey, it does not have corn in the recipe. So it makes it different. It's not that bourbon. You also have Maker's Mark that did their first wheat whiskey this year. It's called Star Hill. Now on theirs it even says American wheat whiskey. They even put their percentages on here of what type of wheat that they placed in it. So that's all listed here. That way it showcases their recipe. Now, I'm not saying we'll do this every year. They'll probably change the recipe next year. If you guys have any questions when it comes to the bourbon, y'all just let me know. Thank you.